Welcome to the Free and Open Mind Vcast. I'm Hardy Brooklyn.
And I'm Michelle Wild.
Who are you, and
what should you really be doing?
We'd like to thank Headshop.com for being our sponsor and helping us make this possible and convey our conduit to you of information and fun.
Yes, Headshop, HEADSHOP.com. Thank you. Big thanks. So this episode we're going to be talking about change and what really that means. And change could be the most minuscule thing, from standing up for yourself at work so your work environment changes for you, to actually changing your whole entire career path and who you are. And maybe it isn't so much sometimes about change, but it's more about being true to yourself and being true to yourself in that things do change.
And that change can be as little as meditating for 10 minutes every day. I mean, it doesn't even have to be even a change at work. It could be changing 10 minutes meditating at work, because there will be more change that comes from that change.
That is true. It could be as simple as changing your hair color. Instead of having a, brown color, maybe you change it to green or something. Something very small that you've always wanted to do but really afraid. And why you ask yourself, why are you afraid? Because you're afraid of what somebody's going to say about you, about your green hair.
You're afraid of being judged, the constructs of society, being able to criticize, being put down, being not liked, being not accepted, being not invited. We are fear of being left out of everything in this world, and we're being constantly bombarded and constantly being told that we have to be a certain way, or we're not going to be accepted by our parents, our family, the government, the people around us, or the products that are sold to us.
Or that we're going to be outside of the circle instead of inside the circle.
And what I find more amazing is that I'm definitely out there as far as changing, but I'm the inside circle. If you come to New York City and you want to go places, we're the inside circle. We know what's going on in certain scenes because we took that step and we committed to ourselves. And I know that what's going on around us and everywhere is very crazy right now when we're actually recording this, and a lot of change is happening. And this is a great time for you to embrace yourself and start finding out where you fundamentally should be changing, what your feelings are and what your emotions are.
Right. So change, for me personally, I'm going to say change came with doing the same sort of things over and over again and getting the same results even though I was expecting something different. I think that they call that insanity. And realizing, it was very convenient and very easy to blame everybody else for my unhappiness and my anger, when the truth is I just didn't like myself and I was angry at myself. So I had to really kind of look inside myself, and it did not happen overnight. It's still an ongoing process, and an ongoing process when I went first to therapy, and I have meditated, and talking to people and reading books and seeing certain quotes and certain things that all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, really? Like you hear something and all of a sudden it resonates with you and you're like, wow, that's me. And then you realize that, like, in all of this, you can actually make that little tiny step to do a little change. Even if you have, that habit of something happening and you react a certain way, it's okay to react that certain way. But once you recognize it, that's the first change.
It's the baby step.
That's the first change. And then you can train yourself. Listen, you didn't get to be screwed up and fucked up overnight, and you're not gonna be, a healthy, enlightened person overnight either. It's all a process. It's a
journey. It's a journey that you're going to be going on for a long time if you want to really change and be your true self, because every single thing that you interact with in the world changes you. It changes your opinion of everything else if you let it. And it's so enlightening to be able to do that and communicate with all different kinds of people and try different things I do so many things in my life that my parents would never ever have done, that my brothers will never ever do. And I feel I'm so much richer for that, because I've got to experience things my kids have got to experience things his kids will never experience, because it's outside of what his type of person or his image or construct of a person is. He'll be there
Yeah, because you know what? I also think maybe he might just be scared to change. You never know what's in people's heart. You know, like if somebody looks miserable, they probably are, right? Because they don't look happy. So they're just too scared to take that, you know, first step to like learning how to accept themselves and say, hey, listen, I'm really not happy. That's the first thing,
Right.
you know. And once you become happy or become more introspective, start learning your life lessons that you've done over and over again, and you sit down and you actually say, this is me, this is my fault, I'm doing this, I have to really be accountable to myself. Once that happens, other things start to happen. Then the person at work, the boss at work, can't treat you like that anymore.
Right.
Can't say to you, hey, listen, you know, you do a whole project and they're not going to give you one good feedback. You know, in the past you'd be like, oh, okay, you'll take it because that's where you are. Once you start making those changes and getting a little bit more empowered and seeing, you know, the amazing, wonderful person that you have and what you have to contribute, right?
And you start feeling better, because one of the things that I learned in changing is nobody can make me feel the way I feel. And you can't make anyone feel the way they feel. You can give them information, you can receive information about how to feel, but nobody can make you feel the way you feel. It's like you feel the way you feel because of all the baggage that you bring to it, all the learn, all the disappointment, everything that you're feeling, whether they're feelings, emotions, mix and match. Today we don't know because they're all mix and match because we've been told so much that they're different. And feelings are different than emotions, and these are all different. No, I feel a certain way, whatever. I have an emotion, whatever. But the thing is you have to really look at that in yourself and figure out where that's coming from.
Yeah, well, I think that's the biggest change for me personally, and I think for everybody on their journey of their nirvana, is to like sit down and say, what is it that I'm contributing to the table? Who am I? And, you know, am I really happy? Can I wake up every morning and say, yeah, I'm excited to do what I'm going to be doing today? You know, and like we've been saying, it can happen. It's just a total baby step. And one of the things I used to do was have affirmations around my house, and one of them was, change is good.
Change is great.
Change is great. It is the scariest thing, whether it's something amazing like you just got a huge promotion at work, or it's that your partner just died. Change is like super, super scary, but it is so part of life. You do not want things to stay the same. You'll never grow, you'll never learn, you'll never have new experiences.
And in life, I mean, right now, there are times in history and in the world where there is so much change and wars come because of change. Wars come because people are afraid of change.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at this country, right now under the current political environment, we were changing. We were becoming way more open, way more accepting of other people, way more of a, like, I don't care what color you are or race. And that scared a lot of people. And that really kind of swayed us a lot because it became of like us versus them. And if you start to look at life like that, it becomes very difficult because you're looking at somebody across from you, or a person, or a light switch, or whatever it is, through somebody else's judgment, not your own. Like, meet that person, understand that person. Don't judge somebody because they're gay, because your pastor told you, or your Protestant, or your mother. Whoever told you that, that's their construct. Let yourself experience that. If somebody told you that people that go out and do BDSM are evil and all manipulative and they're only out there to hurt people and that's it, well, you know what? Go into that community and experience it for yourself and then make that judgment. Don't take all these perceived judgments and don't allow yourself to change because people have told you other things about those worlds.
Just like you don't want people to judge you either. You don't want to be judged, you don't want to judge other people. Right.
Right. Take me, for example. I do everything. I'm out there. I go to all kinds of events. And there are some people that judge me because they say, oh, you're crazy because you go see burlesque, once a week, and you support your artist friends that do burlesque. And why do you go see people strip? Well, you know what? If you've ever been to a burlesque show, 99% of them, they don't strip all the way.
No, they don't.
And there are
they
ones,
don't.
they don't. And the ones that they do, Those are like special, high-end, incredibly artistic, and not done in the way that you're thinking or your mind. They're not the same as a strip club. They're very different. Or my friends will be like, why are you going to suspension party or impact party? Because those are things that are people like and people enjoy. Because I personally don't like pain, that doesn't mean I don't want to communicate with people and understand people and be friends with people just because we have a different thing in life. A lot of those people still like bike riding. They still like different things in life.
Right.
We still interact everywhere else, but we just have different nightlife preferences. You know, what's the difference between somebody that goes to the corner bar every week and drinks themselves into oblivion, as opposed to somebody that goes and sees burlesque every night and, you know, spends that same amount of money paying other artists to support them? What's the difference between somebody that drinks themselves to oblivion or goes to a fetish BDSM party and gets spanked so that they feel relieved and their tension is relieved and they're okay to walk out? There is a big difference. All of those people, except the drunk at the bar, are contributing to society. They're getting themselves ahead. They're improving themselves. They're working on themselves. They've gone through that change. That guy that's drinking at the bar is too chicken to take the next step.
Yeah, I have to say something that people should be really consciously aware of what's going on right now is that it doesn't make a difference who you are. We're all experiencing it as a worldwide phenomenon. So people realize it's not like Africa and this, like, it's a global thing. We're all people. We're all of us here are just trying to live the best life that we possibly can. And in that good energy, then it kind of spreads around. And then there isn't that hate all around, and there isn't that resentment, and that isn't like, you know, people want to hold on to, and judgment. Just people want to hold on to that judgment. But, you know, we're just getting away from the subject, but about change. But that's part of what you're going to experience when you do change, is people are going to be resentful that you are. Like, why are you doing that?
Well,
like,
they're going to be, a lot more is going to be jealous. And that's the biggest thing that I had to overcome, is that I had a lifestyle where I was very active in the jam band music scene of New York City. And about 3 years ago, I started getting more involved in the adult alternative lifestyle of it, whether it be BDSM, whether it be play parties. It didn't matter what it was. It was just not live music, whether it was going clubbing at the House of Yes. It was different lifestyles. And I was having a really good time. And a lot of those people in the music world were looking at me like, ooh, wow, how do you do that? Why do you do that? Or why don't you just keep doing the same thing? Why are you trying different experiences in life? Because that's my personality. That's my desire.
Somebody actually asking that. Really?
Yeah. Because they're like, we go to shows, they're like, you know, because to them, going to a BDSM fetish party is taboo.
Okay.
It's something that's done behind the closed doors in your own bedroom in your own house.
Right.
You know, you can have that whips and things, but that's between you and your spouse.
Well,
and
what
you
if
and your
you're an
partner.
exhibitionist? You need to go somewhere.
Correct. What about if your spouse is not good at whipping you in a way that's safe and healthy? You know, there's a lot of things that happen out there that people need to know it's okay to experience and take those steps to make that change happen. And as I continued to do it, I got a lot of pushback from a lot of people, and especially my parents. You know, and I didn't keep pushing. I kept being true to myself. I wasn't pushing anyone else. I was like, you know what? I want to go to the House of Yes with Dana tonight. I'm going. I want to go to, you know, the Goddess Love with Michelle. I'm going. Whatever it was that I wanted to do, I did. And I knew that it was okay, again, because it was what I wanted to do. And I got pleasure out of those events. And they're very different events, whether I'm going to go to Brooklyn Bowl to see music. But it allowed me, as a person, to continue to grow, because I'm not only seeing one piece of the world. And I enjoy them all. I wish they would all get along, but I throw crazy parties that are a little bit fetishy, I guess. And I literally have people in the music world go, I'll come to your party if you guarantee nobody else in this scene will be there. But that's fear, and that shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be judging other people based on their preferences.
But the thing is, too, people are going to judge you. And so you have to learn coping skills to deal with that. Whether it's like they say something to you, whether you walk away and like regroup, or you say something back to them, whatever it is, or you just don't say anything because you don't even care anymore, right?
Right, and you have to decide how you want to process that. And from what I try to do now is, I don't try to judge that statement, but I look at them when somebody says to me, "You're crazy, you're rude, that's so wrong to do to your children." My children are adults, they're both in college. And even if they're not, what I do doesn't really reflect them, what they do doesn't reflect me. And I make my decisions because I feel it's best for me and my family. And you know what? I'm not doing anything that's hurting or harming anyone. I'm allowing people to be who they want to be. And both of my children incredibly respect and support me in this.
So I have to say, a couple of steps along my evolution of changing was I had gone into a natural bookstore. I was probably about 24, and I picked up a book, and it was called Rebirthing. I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Do you know what Rebirthing is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I read the book, and there was a book in the line that completely, utterly just blew my mind because it had been something I'd been saying all along, and I thought I was crazy. And it said that Jesus was a man that walked the earth, and that if Jesus was enlightened, what makes you think you can't be too?
Right.
Right? So Moses was enlightened, Buddha was enlightened, all
these people
regular people walking the earth just like us, doing, struggling too, but they had a different vision in life. They had a different reality in life. But the thing is that they pursued it, and they went at any cost. They pursued it because it was so a part of who they are. So I read that, and I just was like, wow. So like I really can be whoever I want to be. How do I do that? How do I take those steps? But first I had to get all the baggage I had from my childhood. I had to kind of work through that. And I went to rebirthing therapy, and it was unbelievable for me. And I got to go in my mind back to my childhood and learn to love myself and start all over and start from scratch, realizing that the possibilities of me being happy and being fulfilled was endless. I could be happy. I never thought in my life I could be happy because I grew up in such an unhappy household. That to me was so foreign, and and I realized that, and so that was, like I said, you never know where it's going to trigger you. So that's why we're doing this Vcast, because we feel like we can actually trigger people to do something positive and actually live their true self, be authentic, and once they do find that, to give them the skills and the information and the resources to actually pursue whatever it is, burlesque, dancer, band, whatever, stripper, whatever it is that you want to do, that you can do that.
And one of the things that I did, and I really realized, is I had that same, not really official training, but after I started my journey in 2016, in 2018 I went to Burning Man for the first time, and I did a lot of psychedelics, and I spent a lot of time in the playa, looking at amazing art, finding myself and understanding myself, and then going back the following year, which was last year, ultimately, and doing a lot of introspective and going to Burning Man with the purpose of, I am going to understand more about why I make decisions in life. That's really what I went there for. And sitting there and understanding that, and the people, nobody pushed me to party, nobody pushed me to do anything. It was great. They were all my friends were incredibly supportive because they wanted the final product. And I did, and I realized so much of everything that I did came from here, it came from there. I envision specific instances in my life that I have with my grandparents that caused me to act in a certain way today, that I no longer act that way, because when that trigger happens, I picture that time at the airport when I was getting yelled at, right before we were getting on the flight, or I picture that time right after I spilled something or something. And there are things that I would never have thought, even my therapist never came up with. It was things that were so deep and so hidden because they were so negative to me, or the constructs that I was told about society, that I buried them. And whether you did a rebirthing ceremony, whether you did ayahuasca, whether you did LSD, and whatever other drugs I took, it still allowed me to break free of the baggage that I put on top of everything. And when I came out of that, I was a way better person. And even my doctor was like, wow, until this COVID thing, your knots in your back haven't been as bad. And it was really good. I was feeling good. I was going good for like, what is it, 6 months?
Yeah.
I had a good 6 months until society changed. But it also allows me to deal with this, and it allows me in this time when I see people coming down the street without a mask. I understand that they're making a decision that they're more important, or whatever decision they're making. I don't know. Is it I'm more important? I forgot it at home. It just blew off. Why is it for me to judge that person? I can make a change. The only change I should make is, hey, dude, here's a paper towel to cover your face with.
Right.
I shouldn't say get a mask. That's not my position. I'm not a person of authority. I can wear my mask. I can do my social distancing.
So I want to say that if people don't want to take drugs or go to Burning Man or go to therapy or anything like that, it could be the smallest thing, going to the beach, meditating for 5 minutes a day, just something that is different than your normal routine. That is all that change has to be, that first step. Just doing something completely different.
And we're going to start putting in the show notes with this note things that you can do. So for instance, if we see somebody that has a good meditation, we'll put it up there. And we'll try to do things that are more of things that you can either do on yourself or it's an activity.
So one of the things which would be really good that I read, and we'll reference the article on the website, is you should write down when you're the happiest. Whenever you're doing something and you feel your most flow and time just goes by, you should write that down. And then you should write down the time you're not happiest, right? And I think that's a good start, and it just kind of look at that and reflect and just really, really think about why is it that you like to do whatever it is that you wrote down. Why is it that you like to do that? What is it that you enjoy about that? And then on the other flip side is, why do you hate that? Why does this get me so angry to do this? Like, really, and be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody else.
Right,
it's just
write it down.
It's just write it down.
And you don't even have to know why. Just write it down.
Yeah, just write. That's a good first step. What is it that I really, really love to do? Even if it's for 5 minutes a day. It could be gardening. It could be cooking. It could be food shopping, for God's sake.
And do it while you're doing it, because every day it could be something different. It could be a pattern or a type of things that you like to do. And the other thing that I try to tell my life coaching clients is, if they remember their dreams, to write down not the specific dream, but the mood of the dream. Was it positive? Was it negative? You know, let's just start there. Let's not even go into dreams. Am I dreaming in a positive way, or am I dreaming in a negative way? And it's really starting to work your activities. And that's a little bit of change also, because if I'm starting to dream in a more positive way, I'm going to be more positive in my life.
Yeah, I have to.
And between that and when I'm happy and when I'm not happy,
right,
it's a great starting point, and it's 2 activities that you could do between now and next week.
And don't be angry at yourself. It doesn't go as fast as you want, and change doesn't happen overnight. And like, if you made 3 steps forward and then all of a sudden you're 2 steps back, that's all part of the process. You have to learn to look at life as not mistakes. They're just lessons. They're just a lesson that you haven't got, and you need to get it. That's it. Don't beat yourself up, ever. Like,
Never.
Don't do that to yourself.
And
it's not fair.
And when
you got parents to do that.
Right. You got parents, you got spouses, you got bosses, you got best friends, you got best friends' wives that hate you. You got the rest of the world loves you and the world hates you. So you don't have to do any of that to yourself. You have to find your true calling, your true feeling, what your gut tells you is really what you have to do.
And just write it down in a journal. That's the first step.
And that can be enough of a change, because if you start writing it down, and you start writing down, I don't like this, I don't like, not that I don't like, I'm not comfortable. Because we're not liking or disliking something. We're saying how something feels to us.
Right.
So when we feel the most happiest and the most comfortable in ourselves, we're writing that down. And then we're going to further figure out, like, once we're doing that enough times, we'll understand what's around us when that's happening. And the same thing when I don't feel good. Like, I have a great thing. My body tells me that. When I'm doing something that I don't like, it goes,
Me
it
too.
locks up.
Me too.
I literally have friends that say, when certain people walk into the room that are bad people, my energy changes and they know. Like literally, I mean, I've had multiple people tell me that like, hey, if I see somebody that's not a good person, in my mind or my judgment, something happens to my energy. Whether it's, I don't know what it is, but I've had multiple people tell
Well,
that.
that's because you're way more in tune with yourself, and that's like your past. That energy is your past, like bad energy, right? Yeah, it's hard for me to be around people like that too.
And when I see that, even today's day and age, like I'll be at certain venues and I'll have a security guard that'll there's a bunch of them that when they see my energy, whoever that energy is coming from, that person is out. They're literally asked to leave. And I don't understand why I have that energy, but
because you're intuitive.
the most important thing is we need to have people have that energy about themselves.
Yeah. So like I said, the first step is figuring it out what you enjoy doing. So until next time.
We'd like to thank headshop.com again for sponsoring us and making this possible. This is the Free and Open Mind Vcast. Who are you, and?
What should you be doing?
I'm Hardy Brooklyn.
And I'm Michelle Wild. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good.
Yeah.
How long was that?